What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. It looks like the controversy around Cyberpunk 2077 is pretty consistent. There just always seems to be controversy around this game as we get up to release and more stuff is revealed. We're going to talk about the latest one that has to do with third-person, first-person, cutscenes, and the whole thing with the game. That first-person controversy is kind of resurfaced a bit here because there's a bit more information that's kind of come out, but technically nothing's really changed. There's a lot to go over there. And also we have to talk about Astral Chain in the UK because it's done something that's never been done for Platinum games before. That's right, Astral Chain has done something that Nier, for example, has not been able to do, or Bayonetta. As always, guys, enjoy these videos. Make sure you hit the like button. It does help out, and get subscribed to stay up to date on all things gaming, especially as we go into the September, October, November time. We're going to have a lot of games coming out, and a lot of news coming out around different games and everything, especially since of course, people are expecting some sort of direct or something to get announced at some point, probably, as it turns out, with a lot of the trends with Newswave, an hour after it goes up because, you know, Nintendo likes to do that. Today we're actually going to start with Gears 5. I always think of Gears of War. It's just Gears 5 now. It's coming out this week, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really, really fun. And of course, if you have Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate, you can get it early. It's something Microsoft's doing, but here's the interesting thing. You can get it earlier than maybe you even originally thought. See, we figured, okay, it's out Friday. We'll grab it at midnight on Game Pass, or I guess if you're on the West Coast, it would be 9 p.m. Pacific time. However, they're doing something a bit different here. If you have Game Pass Ultimate, you can download it starting 9 p.m. Eastern time on September 5th, so Thursday, or if you're on the West Coast, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And I like that. That is great. I've already preloaded it. I'm ready to go with the campaign, and the fact that it's loaded up sooner than I thought is good because that'll get me a bit of a jump. If it was coming out at midnight, I wouldn't play that much of it till the next day anyway, but 9 p.m. Eastern, yeah, I could sneak in a few hours there and get some Gears of War, or Gears 5, sorry, in ahead of time. So that's good. I'm glad to see that. And if you're on the West Coast, you get it super early. Like 6 p.m. Pacific time is great. Just make sure you have it preloaded. Also, Kingdom Hearts fans who have been waiting for the trailer for the DLC, just more information about it. We got a tweet. Here it is, because it looks like you're going to be wanting to look forward to next week talking about Kingdom Hearts 3, saying, 1 week to go. This time next week, we'll be releasing a brand new Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind trailer, so make sure you're following us. That would be September 9th, so look forward to that next week, September 9th, for a trailer about the new DLC. Now, I've looked, there's not like a ton of information out there for it, and some of it is linked to spoilers in the game itself. Remind is looking like it's going to launch in the winter time. We still don't have a release date. Maybe that's something they're looking to do in this trailer and just give more information. But I do know, because I see it on Twitter, Kingdom Hearts fans are really excited for it, and that's good. I played Kingdom Hearts 3, but I didn't get as into the story because it's a whole investment to get into that story. We'll just say that. But I had fun with the game for what it was, and I'm sure I'll look at the DLC, but I don't know if I'll really jump in right away with it. I'll kind of see what some of the Kingdom Hearts YouTubers are thinking about it, and then I'll go from there. But the game at least was fun, and if you're looking forward to it, just make sure you keep your eyes open next week to get more information, possibly a release date from the trailer. Also, do you remember Fight Night? Fight Night Champion was back on the 360 PS3, and I remember it went backwards compatible for the Xbox One, but we haven't had a boxing game like a Fight Night in a while now, and EA's forgotten about some of their older IPs, I guess, like Skate has gone forgotten, Fight Night's gone forgotten, just as examples, but what if Fight Night came back? That's something that I have thought at times, along with Skate. Basically, when I look down EA's old IPs, I always go past Fight Night, and I go, you know what, that would be kind of interesting to see. Well, it's possible EA could be looking back into it. See, boxing promoter Eddie Hearn has actually been talking with EA through letters and calling them about possibly bringing back the old classic Fight Night. It was reported by several outlets, including The Sun, specifically talking about EA looking into it, apparently. And I like the idea of Fight Night coming back, but I don't like the idea of EA bringing Fight Night back, because we know what EA likes to do with a lot of the stuff, especially when it comes to licensing names and everything in sports, entertainment, and everything. It becomes very expensive. You see what they do with FIFA, because there's a lot of likenesses, there's a lot of brands, there's a lot of stuff that you have to pay for. So I see that kind of happening with Fight Night, and I mean, what's stopping them from, I guess, like an Ultimate Team style thing in Fight Night, or just have microtransactions around your boxing gloves or any other equipment? We'll see. Honestly, it might not ever come back, but it would be kind of neat at least to see something from Fight Night. But for now, I guess get Fight Night Champion and it's backwards compatible. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start with the UK sales charts. These are all physical sales in the UK from last week. Of course, Astral Chain launched on Friday, so I wasn't sure if it would be able to get to the top of the charts just because it was on a shorter window, something like Control, for example, that launched on Tuesday on the Xbox One and the PS4 and everything, and I didn't know if it would be able to stand up to that with less days and less platforms to sell on. But here's the top 10, and yep, you're seeing that right. Astral Chain, #1. And that is big because that's the first time Platinum Games has ever been able to get a game at #1 in the UK. Below that is Wreckfest, and then we have the Dark Pictures Anthology, and then we have Control, which is all 4 of those are brand new games in the UK sales charts, by the way. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 5, Crash Team Racing at 6, Super Mario Maker 2 at 7, Spider-Man at 8, Grand Theft Auto 5, and then Tom Clancy's Division 2 rounding out the top 10. And this is really, really big because we're counting this against things like Nier, of course. Nier has gone on to sell really, really well. That's what, over 4 million copies sold, but it didn't start out as well when it first came out. It was a little slower to get going, but they did eventually move that to other platforms, and I'm sure that really helped keep the sales momentum going. Astral Chain is going to stay on the Switch. We saw Hideki Kamiya talk with a fan saying, because the fan asked them, or the person on Twitter asked about Astral Chain and said, hey, why didn't you bring it to PlayStation? Why don't you like PlayStation? And Hideki Kamiya just said, you gotta talk to my investor and publisher Nintendo about bringing it to PlayStation, which means it's not. So it will have, compared to what Nier's been able to sell on, right? PC, Xbox, PS4, it'll have a limited audience, right? It's not going to have all of those systems added up in terms of sales. The Switch would have to sell, like 200 million systems or something to have that same audience between all 3 of those platforms. But I think this is a good start for the game. We'll see how it does in NPDs, but keep in mind, it launched much later, obviously in the month, like right at the end, and it will go into this month, September, slightly because the MPD does overlap a little bit. But I think so far, Platinum Games is probably really happy with how Astral Chain is doing. We're going to see some hard numbers when the Japan charts come out, when we have things like Famitsu release some information. And there's also word that along with Astral Chain, the brand new Switch units, which have now launched, the ones with the better battery life and everything, are also flying off the shelves alongside Astral Chain. So it sounds like we're going to have a pretty good number from Astral Chain. I assume that's going to be like #1 in the Famitsu sales chart. So that coupled with a #1 in the UK, and we'll see how it does in MPD, this is going to be big for Platinum. And I think this is going to be a series. I think Astral Chain, depending on how sales performance is elsewhere, obviously, could end up being something that you see going forward as one of their premier IPs. And hey, hats off to Nintendo and Platinum for making it happen. It looks good here so far in the UK. Next up, let's talk about Banjo-Kazooie in Smash. We already know he's coming. I believe he's supposed to be coming, fall of this year. So fall starts in a couple of weeks. It's like the 3rd week of September or whatnot. And it looks like we're starting to see some advertising pop up, and this advertising is interesting because generally when we see this advertisement pop up in a place like 7-Eleven and it has a date on it, Banjo launches a little after that has expired. So of course the advertisement's there to get it all hyped up, and then Banjo releases. Anyway, here is a tweet that pointed this out. This is from Push Dustin, saying new Smash display at 7-Eleven in Japan. It shows Banjo-Kazooie. The pop display is supposed to be up until the 15th. Hero had something very similar, and Hero then launched a few days after the pop display was supposed to be up until. So there is a chance that Banjo could launch literally on the first day of fall. I think that's like the 22nd or 23rd or something of September. Or he could launch before and they just say, hey, we said fall, we were just trying to give a window of some kind. So we think there's a direct coming up, again, if it hasn't already been announced an hour after Newswave goes up. But we think there's a direct coming. There's a chance that Banjo could get a solid release date, or they don't even really talk about it much, and that thing happens on Twitter where they're like, hey, Banjo's out, go ahead. Go get them. Most people are already excited. Most people probably bought the pass, like the Fighter's Pass, as soon as they saw Banjo if they didn't get it already, because everyone was hyped about that. So it's good to see we're kind of getting an idea, a clear picture here as to when Banjo is coming out, because people are really excited for it. And I think now people are starting to look at the next character with that, little bit of SNK copyright leak with Terry possibly being the next one. So interesting stuff there, but hey, Banjo getting added into Smash is still weird to think about, right? But it could be happening pretty soon. Next up, let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077, as there was a lot of information going on about this yesterday. It was all over the place. People were a bit confused. There was information everywhere. I figured we'd quickly go over it and kind of get you caught up and I guess clear up some of the misconceptions here as to what's going on. So several outlets reported that there was a bit of an exchange between a user on Twitter and Cyberpunk 2077's handle. So this is actually the message here, and it says, "Hello, some people said there is no more TPP view." That's supposed to be FPP view, by the way, first person perspective view in cutscenes, etc. Is that true? And then they respond, in Cyberpunk 2077, immersion is very important for us. So yes, cutscenes are FPP, or first person perspective. And that sent some alarm bells ringing, because we already had the controversy about third person versus third person versus first person view in Cyberpunk 2077. I believe that was I think was that last year or early this year, where people were getting really frustrated that there's a possibility that it would just be all first person. Then it was confirmed and people didn't like that. They wanted third person, like the Witcher series. Although I do think it's okay for CD Projekt Red to do a third person series with Witcher and then a first person series with Cyberpunk. Just change things up, try something different, right? Try different ways of immersion. And that seems to be what they're trying to do here. But people thought immediately that there would be no third-person cutscenes at all. And I'm not really sure why it was answered in this way, but we did get some clarification in a follow-up tweet. Now, as you're seeing here, this is from Marcin, who is the global community lead for CD Projekt Red, saying, "Achieving full immersion in an FPP game is extremely important, and the decision made by the team to go 100% first person in a Cyberpunk game is something that will benefit it greatly from gameplay and storytelling perspectives. That said, players will still be able to see their characters in the inventory screen during driving sequences, in mirrors, and very occasionally in some of the cutscenes." Now, the cutscenes they're referring to is one like in the beginning of the game when we saw gameplay the first time. Remember how we saw V kind of in her apartment and everything? That would be a time where you would be seeing your character. However, it seems like out in the world and everything, you'll be first person, inventory screens, you'll see your character. There was also a little bit of footage in the latest video that showed gameplay where they looked in the mirror and they could see themselves. That seems to be the case. However, it appears that nothing's actually changed from what we're seeing and hearing. It just sounds like they worded it in a pretty bad way, and now they're trying to kind of clear things up. The driving sequences will also be third person. We saw that as well, but this is something they wanted to do, and I have seen people say, well, if I'm going to customize my character, I want to be able to see my character, and yeah, I get that. I do. I understand completely what you're saying, but this is kind of the direction they're going in. What I would do is, if you're really unsure and the first person thing is really bothering you, I would at least, I guess, wait for reviews to see how much they push that first person in immersion, because there will be some third person cutscenes, just not as many, it sounds like. And it sounds like they're really going to lean into the first person immersion completely. So if you're more on the side of third person, I guess they're saying, well, Witcher is our third person game, and then Cyberpunk is our first person. I'm actually okay with the first person aspect of everything, as long as they take advantage of it. And I'm hoping CD Projekt Red really pushes the boundaries for what we know with first person immersion. Think of like Mirror's Edge, right? When that came out, that was something crazy. That was something else. And now we have things like Dying Light 2 trying to push that with some of the parkour stuff and everything. So I'm hoping Cyberpunk tries to do some new stuff with the first person aspect and everything. But we'll see next year when it comes out in April. And our last bit of news, let's talk about Konami, because apparently they're not leaving consoles. They're going to keep making games, which is, it's weird to hear, right? Because what's Konami doing? Well, what they did the Yu-Gi-Oh game, I guess. It's mobile stuff. So anyway, this is actually what they said in an interview about their future for console gaming. Even with new platforms coming out, we believe high-end console games are the most important. We challenge for innovative ideas and technology within our console games and apply them to other devices, so we will continue to put effort into our console games. We also plan to increase our portfolio in addition to multi-device titles for PES, or Pro Evolution Soccer, and Yu-Gi-Oh! We plan to work on projects with other globally known IPs in the near future. That said, they go on to say, we don't really have anything to announce for Metal Gear or Silent Hill, two IPs that they have that should be raking in money, specifically Metal Gear. Now look, I know Kojima is not there anymore, and he was like, obviously the person who put all that together and made it work. You're telling me you can't get anyone to make Metal Gear? That's the biggest thing. You could even go back and get the older Metal Gears and start porting them to some of the newer platforms. Put it on the Switch and it'll sell an obscene amount of copies, right? Like, seriously, get the Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, put that in a bundle, drop it on the Switch. Go remaster 1. Go remake the thing. The stuff's already there. Just go remake it, right? Like, these are things that are so weird when it comes to Konami. They're just not that interested in taking risks. So while they say they are working with, like, they think high-end console games are still in their future, I kind of need some proof from them, to be honest. Sure, like Yu-Gi-Oh, that's great. Pro Evolution Soccer, it's kind of fading away. I need them to do something, and I think the best thing they can do right now is either port the older Metal Gears to like the Switch or anything else, or go remake completely. I'm talking like Blue Point remake, right? Go remake Metal Gear Solid 1. Everyone wants it to happen, so why don't you do it, Konami? And, you know, make millions of dollars in the process. And we'll finish up here with the comment of the day. This one is from Grillo saying, I'm mostly impressed that Bethesda managed to make a buggy port of Doom when fans have been porting it perfectly to everything from calculators to blenders. Nothing about what Bethesda does anymore should surprise you because they seem to break everything they touch. Okay, not everything. For the most part, though, a lot of stuff, right? Fallout came out. Fallout 76 was very broken. I've heard it's still broken. I don't plan to start it up or anything and check. But I believe they moved it to Unity. That was probably not the greatest idea if they wanted it to work day one, but they seem to want to move it to a newer engine, so that's what they took a shot at. But yeah, Bethesda, until they get off that creation engine, I expect every game that they put out to be buggy. And ladies and gentlemen, let's go do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, the like button really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's the Cyberpunk 2077 situation with first person versus third person. Does that bother you that much that it's first person only and some little third person? Let me know about that. And then what about Astral Chain topping the charts in the UK? Great to see Platinum and Nintendo knocking out of the park with a brand new IP. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.